step back in time to the early 17th century, a period of religious and political tension in Europe. The continent was a cauldron of simmering disputes, primed to boil over. At the heart of this tumult was the Protestant Reformation, a seismic shift that fractured the once united religious landscape of Europe. The Peace of Augsburg, an attempt at resolution, allowed each prince to choose the religion of their state. But it was a flawed solution. It failed to recognize non-Lutheran Protestants and Catholics, sowing the seeds of discontent. Simultaneously, the political sphere was a tangle of power struggles. The Habsburgs, a family with an iron grip on power, dominated, causing further friction. Their dominion over vast territories from Austria to Spain made them a formidable force and a source of envy and antipathy. The stage was set, the actors in place, and the 30 Years' War was about to begin. In 1618, the fuse of the conflict was lit with the defenestration of Prague. With this act of defiance, the Bohemian Revolt sparked into life, becoming the first phase of the devastating 30 Years' War. The Bohemians, primarily Protestant, had grown weary of Habsburg rule and Catholic dominance. They elected Frederick Futh, a Protestant elector from the Palatinate, as their king. This was a direct affront to the Habsburgs, who refused to recognize Frederick's rule. And so, the stage was set for a brutal conflict. The war was not confined to Bohemia or the Habsburg territories. It soon spread across the European continent. Denmark, under King Christian IV, entered the fray in 1625, hoping to extend its influence in the Baltic region. This phase of the war, often referred to as the Danish phase, saw the Habsburgs and their Catholic allies gain the upper hand. The significant battles of this period were many. However, the Battle of White Mountain stands out. This early clash in 1620 saw the Catholic forces decisively defeat the Bohemians, effectively ending the Bohemian Revolt. Yet, the war was far from over. Sweden, under the leadership of King Gustavus Adolphus, entered the war in 1630. Adolphus, a brilliant military tactician, led his forces to several victories. One of the most notable was the Battle of Lutzen in 1632. Despite Adolphus's death during the battle, his forces achieved a significant victory, shifting the balance of power. As we delve deeper into the course of the war, it's important to remember that this was not only a religious struggle between Protestants and Catholics. It was also a power play. Each country had its own interests at heart, and the war provided an opportunity to extend influence and gain territory. And so the war raged on, fueled by religious fervor and political ambition. The lines between faith and power blurred, and what had started as a revolt against religious oppression morphed into something much larger and far more complex. As the war raged on, it became more than a religious struggle, transforming into a fight for continental dominance. The war took a decisive turn with the entry of France, a Catholic nation, on the Protestant side. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's crucial to understand that the 30 Years' War was not only a religious conflict, but also a power struggle among Europe's major players. France, a predominantly Catholic nation, found itself in an unlikely alliance. Cardinal Richelieu, the de facto ruler of France, saw an opportunity to curb the Habsburgs' power, who ruled both the Holy Roman Empire and Spain. The Habsburgs were a significant threat to France, encircling it from both sides. Richelieu, a shrewd statesman, prioritized France's national interest over religious affiliations. He strategically decided to support the Protestant forces, particularly Sweden, against the Habsburgs. This period was marked by several noteworthy battles, but one stands out: the Battle of Rocroi in May 1643. This battle was a pivotal moment in the war. It was here that the French, under the command of the young and audacious Louis II de Bourbon, Prince of Condé, also known as the Great Condé, faced off against the Spanish forces. The Spanish were considered invincible on the battlefield, their tercios renowned across Europe. But Rocroi marked the end of their dominance. The battle was fierce, and the outcome hung in the balance until the French cavalry broke through the Spanish lines, turning the tide in their favor. This victory was not just about Rocroi. It symbolized the end of the Spanish myth, the belief in the invincibility of the Spanish army. The Battle of Rocroi was a decisive victory for the French, and a significant blow to the Habsburgs. The involvement of France complicated the war further. The The lines between religion and politics blurred even more, and the conflict evolved into a full-blown European power struggle. The war was no longer a mere religious conflict, but a political war that would shape the future of Europe. After 30 years of devastating war, peace finally came with the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. This peace agreement, a series of treaties signed by various European powers, brought an end to the brutal 30 Years' War. The terms were extensive and complex, but the gist of it was clear. The principle of cuius regio, ius religio, which translates to he who rules his religion, was reinforced. This meant that the religion of the ruler would dictate the religion of the ruled. The Peace of Westphalia also marked a significant shift in Europe's political map. The Holy Roman Empire, once a powerful entity, was fragmented into a multitude of sovereign states. These states, over 300 of them, were granted the right to conduct their own foreign policy, establish their own alliances, and most importantly, choose their own religion. This marked the birth of the modern nation-state system, an idea that would eventually spread beyond Europe and shape the world as we know it today. But the war's aftermath was not just about political restructuring. The 30 Years' War, being one of the most destructive conflicts in European history, had profound social and economic consequences. Populations were decimated, with some regions losing up to 2/3 of their inhabitants. The economy was in shambles, with trade routes disrupted and agricultural lands laid to waste. In many areas, it took decades, even centuries, for life to return to the way it was before the war. The war also brought about a shift in societal attitudes. The widespread destruction led to an increased skepticism towards religious fanaticism, paving the way for the Enlightenment. This was a period of intellectual and philosophical development that emphasized reason, individualism, and skepticism of authority. The 30 Years' War, a conflict that started as a religious dispute, ended up reshaping the political landscape of Europe, leaving an indelible mark on its history. The aftermath of the war was a critical turning point, setting the stage for the modern era and shaping the course of European history for centuries to come.